it's so hard, it's so weird to describe it or explain to yourselves, but yeah, because I'm so familiar with being hands-on, I know what type of cream or oil I can use on people that has a direct influence on them. And yeah, I would say Europe's massage oil does that for them. Like, I don't even need to do anything. I'm like, yeah, put it on. And they're like, yeah, this is amazing. Yeah, Salma, you're amazing. I'm like, yeah, thanks. So that's really
Welcome back to the 101 podcast with Serena Organics, with myself, David, and my fellow co-founder, Joe.
Hello, and today we have the pleasure of welcoming Salma. Salma is an osteopath and Harley Street's youngest osteopath, renowned in influence in the musculoskeletal system and other interconnected parts of the body. Now, Salma, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm really good. Thank you. What about yourselves?
Good.
Very well, thank you. Very well.
Now, Salma, let's delve right into it. I think the first thing that would be good for people to know is what exactly is osteopathy or an osteopath? I think that'll be a good...
So I get this question all the time. I get the question of what is an osteopath, or what is the difference between an osteopath or physio, or what is the difference between an osteopath and a chiropractor? I think they're all within the same field of holistic health, or alternative medicine, as we kind of call it nowadays. We influence, obviously, like yourselves, like you said, we influence the body's musculoskeletal system. But people don't realize that things like the heart, the lungs, that it's a muscle, and having the power of touch and having the ability to use that on someone and how we can influence the way someone feels is probably one of the biggest things that an osteopath has in their toolbox. It's their powers in their hands. And it's the same with a chiropractor, whereas a chiropractor more or less specializes kind of specifically in the spine. So everything kind of relates back to the spine. So if you have a problem, you can go to a chiropractor with shoulder pain and they will bring it back to the spine. So that's how it kind of works for a chiro. A physio being very much rehab based. So they're not as hands-on. They don't really learn hands-on techniques or any of that at university when studying. They're very much learning ways to rehabilitate and condition those muscles or the areas of injury. Now, an osteopath, you kind of put them both together. The only difference is we don't just specialize in the spine. So like I said, if you come to us with shoulder pain, we will look at the shoulder and its function, but we will also look at the joints and the muscles kind of lower down. So I'll have a look at your elbow as well. I'll also have a look at your neck. So it's not just specialized in the spine. We look at kind of the body as a whole and how to kind of influence the body in a way that its movement is fluid, causing not as much pain, or kind of advising in terms of strengthening. So it's kind of like a mesh between two that people have don't really know about. I feel like a lot of people don't know what an osteopath is. It's hard it's very hard to explain to someone, which is why I just turn around and say we're very much between a chiro and a physio. We're like that gap in between. A lot of people tend to go to a physio and they do their job in terms of giving people exercises. But when they say they didn't do any treatment on me, they didn't do any hands-on treatment on me. But maybe because you're looking for an osteopath, and that's what an osteopath is, essentially.
Having studied physio and qualified as a physiotherapist myself, I had exposure working with osteopaths, and I think you're right that the difference is very much in terms of being hands-on. Physios, they'll often give exercises to perform, they'll do an assessment, but it's very much around that rehabilitation side, building muscle, working on recovery, whereas osteo is very much getting hands into the spine, doing a lot of manipulations.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot more physical, which personally I value, and I think a lot of people do value that, especially you feel like you're getting some treatment, especially when you're getting hands-on. That said, for people who don't really know of osteopaths or don't know why they would turn to an osteopath instead of a physio, like you mentioned, what are the main reasons people are coming to you for help?
So the main things that I've noticed is I've got my standard office desk job workers that come and see me for treatment, but they train as well, they're active, they do, you know, their rehab, their own personal kind of rehab or conditioning for themselves, their body. But some people, they just need that, just that bit more of mobilization to a joint so that they can, let's say, push a bit further. So I have a client that comes and sees me every month or so. He has no injuries at all, but sometimes he just gets stuck on his bench when he's benching. He's been stuck at 120 for quite some time. And he goes, Salma, I don't know what it is. I feel like maybe I'm just stiff. I don't know what's going on. Can you take a look at me, examine me, assess why I may not be hitting further on? So I did an assessment, and we just noticed that there were certain muscles were really, really tight, and some of them were really fatigued. And that can happen with just your general lifestyle, or the way you're sitting, or when you are sitting for a long period of time, you're not moving as often. So we released those muscles off, everything we needed to do. I always advise, don't train the same day. He didn't listen to me. He went and trained the same day, and he called me up later and he goes, Salma, you won't believe it. Oh my God, I hit 125, you know, I was so happy, this and that. And I'm just like, okay, I'm really happy for you, but maybe you shouldn't have done that like today. Take it easy, rest up, and then, you know, get back into it the next day. So it's very much about what I do, especially, is I very much like to enhance people's performance, whether it's their performance in the gym or if it's the performance outside of the gym in terms of just feeling good about yourself. Hands-on work, you just naturally tend to, with clicks as well, it releases opioids, so that they kind of like feel-good hormones. So yes, you feel good for that moment of time, and depending on the individual, you can feel good for a whole week until you feel like you need that again. And that's when you come see me again, I help you out. But that's with the standard person who's not injured or don't have any issues. With somebody that has, let's say, for example, arthritis in their knee, for example, we do treatment on their knee, you know, a lot of hands-on work. I do dry needling as well. And a lot of people find that very beneficial. But you can't just stop there. With someone who trains and is active and has an injury, we've got to rehabilitate all the surrounding muscles as well, activating the correct ones. So giving them a plan as well to take home for them to actually do is what they need to be taking home and doing. And then coming back to me saying, Sam, I've done this, I feel good, you know, where are we at next? And then I assess something like the ankle, for example, have a look at why, you know, there could be a difference in force transference going up that leg compared to the other one. So it is so different to every single person that comes and sees me. So injured or not, I mean, going for treatment is something I always recommend to people.
And Salma, thanks very much for that. And I guess with the work that you do, there's a lot of education and information that goes into that for yourself as well, and I guess constantly learning. And like you just said, you meet a varied amount of people, none of them all being the same or having different situations. It would be nice to kind of understand how you actually, we've had some conversations, and since then I've been more conscious about how I'm sitting.
There you go.
My hunchback or whatever it is. But how did you actually get into the industry, and what kind of led you on this path of osteopathy and kind of providing value to people in that way?
Ooh, well, put it this way, I never knew what an osteopath was. Like, if you asked me 6 years ago what an osteopath is, I'd be like, what's that? You know, I was just so naive to it. You know, the only thing that I knew was a physio or chiro. I didn't know what an osteopath was. All I knew was I was very much into sport since I was very young. I've been training since very young. And I think my passion for helping people actually came from food and cooking. So my background was essentially being a chef. I was working in a private health club called Nuffield Health. I was working in their cafe, and, you know, it was very much like they let me literally redesign a whole menu for them. And just cooking for people and seeing that smile on people's faces saying, oh, this is so good. And knowing it's healthy as well. I think that's what made me very, very happy, to know that I'm feeding people good food. That was that first bit of, you know, getting back from something I was doing. You know, you have a job, you get paid for it, but enjoying what you're doing, it's priceless. You can't really put a price on it. And I thought, okay, this is the direction I'm going to be going into. I want to become a nutritionist. So I studied sports science, got into university to become a nutritionist. But then I thought, hang on a second, what is my goal here? My goal is to help people with their diet. So I thought, okay, let me open a private meal prep company and see where it goes. Now, I had clients from the gym anyway, from the health club that I was working with. So my clientele was there. I was working with them, providing them meals. So that's what I did on my gap year. I got my personal private chef qualification, whatever you call it, professional chef qualification in that year as well, to say, okay, yeah, you know, I do meal prep. I'm also a professional chef, and I've got a sports science background. That was kind of my title, if that's what you call it. And I was providing meals for people, but the only thing was I was doing it from home. And when you're making like 50 plus meals from home, just me, little old me.
So far it can go.
Yes, number one. And number two, I was living with my parents at the time. So they were like, who's going to clean this all up? Because, yeah. So it was just a lot. It was very heavy, especially because I was still working at the time in the cafe. So there was this issue of I'm working in the cafe, but I'm also providing meals privately. So I wasn't really allowed to be doing that. And because there wasn't really much support at home doing it, I thought, okay, I'm going to put this on pause and I will come back to it one day. But then it led me to think that I've already achieved what I wanted to do, which was my goal, like without being a nutritionist. Is there another way I can possibly help people with more than just their diet? So I think a magazine came in the mail and I stumbled across osteopathy. And I was like, this is really cool. This is really interesting, and how we can influence people's bodies with just the power of touch and being very specific and very science-based and very holistic-based as well, because osteopaths touch upon diet. They touch upon people's social life, the medication they take, how it influences them, how it affects them. So I like the fact that I'm not just targeting one part or one area of someone's life to help them. I was basically doing like, kind of like not a cloud, but just helping people as a whole, you know, targeting everything. So in my sessions I have with someone, when you guys come and see me for treatment, you'll see that the first 20 minutes is I'm literally getting to know you in your life. So I can understand you more as an individual. I can see, you know, how much sleep you have. Sleep is so important. You know, what your quality of your social life is, you know, I think that's very important as well. Does work take over your life? Are you active? Do you train? What's your diet like? It targets all of them. And that's what really drew me into that. So I said to myself, okay, I'm going to dedicate 4 years of my life to doing this degree. And it was 4 years because it was a medical degree. So it's like a integrated master's. So the final year, you've got to do over 1,000 clinic hours to pass. And I remember saying to my dad, oh, I'm going to do this. And he was like, all right, we'll give it a few months. You're going to drop out anyway. And I was like, okay. Well, that kind of pushed me. But I was like, every year went on and I was just enjoying it more and more and more and more. And then it got to the final year where you're doing your clinic hours and you're working with people, but these people are coming to see you for treatment as a student osteopath. And it's part of the university. So we're working under the university, doing our hours. People are paying, I think, maybe 15, 20 pounds to come in and see you. And I thought to myself, is this the type of clinic I would like to run? And I thought, no, this isn't what I want. This isn't what I read in that article 4 years ago. And I said to myself, when I leave, I'm going to bring myself back to the reason as to why I wanted to do it. And yeah, 4 or 5 years on and I'm doing that. That's how it is.
That's great.
Oh, well done. I mean, I respect that as well, because it can be difficult when you're sort of guided down a path, doing clinical hours, especially in places like the NHS. You feel like, is this what I have to then step into? So then to take that risk and go, do you know what? I'm going to do something different.
Myself.
And back to yourself. I mean, because you loved it so much as well, I think that step isn't necessarily as difficult.
Yeah.
Because you like over the first, second, third and fourth year, you're like, actually, I'm just loving this even more. Each time I'm seeing actually the benefits of helping people. For you, it's like, I know I want to do this. It's just how I go about doing this is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of respect for that.
Yeah.
So just a quick one. you touched on you being the youngest osteopath at Harley Street. How did that come about?
Well, so as mentioned, when I got to my 4th year, I was like, this is not the type of clinic I want to be working in. The way it works, it just seems very, very controlled. You know, they tell you what type of osteopath you should be, whereas all osteopaths are different. You know, you go and see me for treatment, you go and see another osteopath for treatment, you'd think we're 2 different professions. I took a risk, in all honesty. I said to myself, if I'm ever going to be in a clinic, it would have to be in the top clinics in London on Harley Street, or else I'm not doing it. Or else I'm not doing it. So I decided to email almost every clinic in Harley Street, and I think 2 got back to me. One of them got back to me and said to me that they needed a sports massage qualification as well as what I was doing. And I said, okay, I'm not doing that, because I was still a student at the time. I was working part-time, and I think the sports massage course was about £750. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. No way. And then the other person, there was another man that got back to me, and he was my former boss, as you would call it. And he called me up and he spoke to me on the phone, and he said to me, you seem really young. How old are you? And the second I said my age, he was like, oh, send me your CV anyway, I'll get back to you. That was the type of attitude or type of energy I got back. And then I said to myself, is that the type of person I want to work for? And from then on, I had my little tantrum, I had my little strop. I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it myself, blah, 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 blah. And then I think a few days later, I was like, okay, I'm just going to send my CV anyway, see where it takes me, you know, who knows? And I didn't hear back from him for a good 5-6 months. Wow. I think within those 5-6 months, because I said to myself, I'm just going to do it myself. I think a lot of things happened in my own personal life. I moved out of home, ended up renting a place with my brother, so I lived with my brother in a flat. But it was very hard because I had uni on top of it. I mean, I was working a part-time job that was just about paying for my rent, and I had no other choice but to do it myself so that I can earn an amount to survive. And the former boss of mine on Harley Street, he called me in, I think it was March time last year. He called me up and he goes, oh, I had a look at your CV, you know, and I think I got past that point of like accepting that, okay, I don't know why I did that. I haven't even graduated yet. Why would I do that? Why would I apply to a place like Harley Street? But when he called me back, I feel like my tone and everything changed. And I said to him, listen, you're calling me again. How about we meet up face to face? I'll do some hands-on treatment on you, and then we can go from there. There's no point in having another conversation again. Come on. And he was like, okay. So I literally did that. I went down to 10 Harley Street. I met him, did some treatment on him, and he goes, okay, I'll get back to you. So then he messaged me the next day, and he goes, yeah, he felt really good. He really liked the treatment, you know. Actions speak louder than words at the end of the day, right? And he goes, what we're going to do is we're going to get you in, and we're going to start you off on a 60-40 split of me only taking 40% of my earnings and him taking 60. And at first I was like, that's a lot, you know, for someone to be taking what you rightfully earn is a lot. And I feel like that was one of the first red flags for me. And because I was just so happy and excited that, okay, got my first gig on Harley Street, I was like, yeah, I'll take it. I took anything that was given to me. And I think in hindsight, that was my regret. But I mean, you don't know until you learn. So I was there for a good few months working away. And I just felt the majority of the clients that were coming to see me were my own. So because I was running like a private business from home as well, before he even reached out to me, I was generating an income from that anyway, enough to leave my part-time job. So now I'm happy, I'm comfortable, I'm doing this and I'm generating an income from it. I can't be more happier. But the only thing that was causing me stress was that job on Harley Street, because I had my own clients coming to see me there, paying double, and I'm not even getting a certain amount of that. I thought, this is not what I want. I was like, this isn't the type of career or direction I want. There wasn't really much mentoring through that. I kind of just went through it all and I thought, yeah, I'm going to test it out. I'm just going to give it a chance. I'm going to give it a chance. It got to a point where I was getting quite busy, but I wasn't able to manage my private clients at home and working in Harley Street because I was needed there for specific days. Even when I had, let's say, no clients, I was still expected to be there, which I was like, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can give you a whole day of my time, you know, waiting for walk-ins to come in when I've got people messaging me saying, Sam, are you free today at my private clinic at home? So it was a very tough decision for me to make because I was generating from both sides, but I thought, I keep taking a risk on this place, just waiting to see what else that they can offer me. But I was like, I need to take that risk on myself. So I called it a day and I said, I've got enough clients now in central London, because that was my first base in central London, to kind of take it elsewhere. So then I stumbled across like a co-working space called Until. And they've got 2 branches, one in Soho, one in Liverpool Street. And they'll be opening one in Mayfair soon as well. And the one in Mayfair is not far from Harley Street either. So it'll be good to get back some of our old clients from around that area there. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this myself. I was like, there's no way I'm not gonna have anyone working with me or anything like that, like someone over me, should I say, and I'm gonna take that risk, do it myself. I was like, I took the biggest risk anyway, leaving a stable income of a part-time job to do this myself. Yeah. Why don't I just, you know, go 100% full on my own? And I did that, and I haven't looked back since.
That's amazing.
I mean, that sounds like a story of intense tenacity, and I guess doing something like that can also be quite scary. It can be quite daunting, but
yeah,
I think having that trust in yourself and backing yourself is one of the best and most rewarding things you can do.
You know what it is? I don't even think I had that trust in myself. I felt like I had imposter syndrome.
Really?
Yeah, every day I woke up and I'm like, you know, it went around uni that I got a job on Harley Street, and everyone's just looking at me like, no, what's going on? And I felt like, oh, maybe I don't belong there. You know, maybe, you know, I just lucked out, and maybe I did, but I stuck it out. I think that's one of the biggest things that a lot of people wouldn't do. They probably would have crumbled a lot earlier. But yeah, I stuck it out and I kept going. But the biggest thing was, taking that risk on myself. Oh my God, I was sleepless nights, stressing, waking up so stressed. And that kind of leads me on to CBD and my coping mechanisms, really.
Yeah. And would you say that as time has gone on, I guess you speak about that imposter syndrome stuff, would you say that as time has gone on, you started to believe in yourself more with the success that you've had, or how is that now?
100%. I think one thing that reminds me of the fact that I don't have imposter syndrome is the way I make my clients feel after treatment with me. They give me that kind of warm feeling of, thank you so much. You know, you've offered me this solution, you've helped me. And that's what I want. Nothing else. No name, no status, none of that. That was what I wanted.
That's cool. And I mean, that's amazing, Salma. I know that as time has gone on, obviously we've been connected, which is amazing to be connected with you. And as part of your profession, you've obviously now come across CBD. So it'll be good to kind of delve in on what your thoughts are on CBD and kind of how you help your clients incorporate CBD into their daily lives as a way of healing or maintaining or delving into some of the issues they're having around maybe muscles or joint pain.
Well, what kind of introduced me to CBD was, I don't even know if this is okay to say on a podcast or whatever it is, but I think I knew about CBD because I'm from a background where everybody basically smoked weed. That was their coping mechanism, shall we call it, for stress, for pain, for, you know, people said for like chronic long-term diseases. That was what everybody's go-to and direction was. And, you know, when you're young and you're exposed to that and you try that, you know, and you've never experienced anything like that before, you're like, this is amazing. Like, I feel like on top of the world, you know, I sleep well, you know, everything is just enhanced. Everything is just 10 times better. And that can be a good thing, but that can also be a bad thing when you start using it as a coping mechanism. Now, I know a lot of people that deal with their issues, whether it be their chronic pain or whether it be their stress levels, they depend on weed, essentially. It gives them that way of just zoning out and escaping. And it also gives them that feeling of just feeling slightly numb towards any type of negative feeling that they're feeling in their body. So I was first introduced to, CBD as weed. And only years down the line, when I realized that it's the CBD component that is taken out from it, is basically the key ingredient to helping people with stress, with chronic pain. And it's the THC is the chemical that makes you feel high. So they're like two separate things. And I think for the youngsters and the younger generation, they put them both together. I mean, I was one myself. I put them both together. So anytime I was getting like severe cramps or period pain, I'd go straight to that. But it was very much, smoking this type of stuff is not good for your lungs. Ingesting it in that way is not healthy for you at all. And I'd never recommend that to anybody. So I then stumbled across hemp. Hemp oils, creams contain CBD. And when you're in this field that I'm in, we're always hands-on. So I remember, I think this is probably going back last year, obviously 4 or 5 years of being hands-on, I'd wake up, my hands are stiff as hell, like to a point where I can't even type in the morning. I'm sending voice notes to people. And I was like, why is this going on? And that was a warning sign for me where I was like, I'm working too hard here. I need to work smart, not hard. Not have, not thousands, but not have 15, 20 people a day. That's not healthy for me. I've got to put myself first. And I was doing the hot baths, I was doing everything. And then I remember my mum sent me a hemp cream on Amazon. It came to my doorstep and I was like, oh, what's this? And because I've had that history of being exposed to weed before, I was very much inclined to trying it and giving it a go because it had been a long time since I had taken anything. And when I tried it, I was like, this is some good stuff. It really just helps alleviate that muscular pain that you may have or even joint pain. So that was what brought me into or exposed me to CBD and hemp. And then while I was treating my clients and patients, I'd just finish off with just adding a bit of that cream on them. And it gives them just that little touch of, I'm using good products that can, help them as well. And then I had yourselves reach out to me and I was like, this is crazy because I've literally just started using CBD and hemp on my clients. So I was like, this works because I've been such a big advocate for CBD, it's not that hard to incorporate it into my sessions. And using your CBD massage oil on my clients, they love it. They love it. And the thing is, because we're so used to being hands-on with a person, I can also tell as well when I use the oil what the change in their musculature becomes as well. It's as if not just the skin becoming softer, but you can also, it's almost as if you can feel that muscle and that fascia relax a bit. It's so hard, it's so weird to describe it or explain to yourselves, but yeah, because I'm so familiar with being hands-on, I know what type of cream or oil I can use on people that has a direct influence on them. And yeah, I would say Ulot's massage oil does that for them. I don't even need to do anything. I'm like, yeah, put it on. And they're like, yeah, this is amazing. Yeah, Salma, you're amazing. I'm like, yeah, thanks. So you got CBD. But that was kind of how I kind of got into using CBD and hemp.
Nice. Don't worry, we won't take 60-40 for me, by the way. So.
Yeah, thank you. Don't scar it. It's trauma.
Sam, amazing story, by the way. And like Joe touched on the tenacity around your story and sort of not letting your feelings or emotions determine your actions, also knowing what you want going for it. And now actually being able to help clients, obviously with your osteopath skills, but using our products as well and combining the two is amazing. And some of the feedback we get off some of our community with osteopathic conditions such as arthritis, they find it incredibly helpful, especially our massage oil, which you touched on. So the fact you're able to incorporate that into your clients is amazing. And I think for Joe and I, we had a slight taste a few days ago, but it would be good for you to demonstrate some of your skills to us if possible.
So what are you asking me, director? What are you trying to say?
David's asking you for a free session.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and I think it would also be good as well, I guess, for people who are at home to understand kind of what, for those who aren't familiar, what goes into kind of osteopathy. And even while you're explaining that as well, like tips for people at home on kind of what to look out for, who to look for in kind of like a good osteopath, and also how to kind of incorporate CBD into any conditions, like David touched on, people that have any musculoskeletal health conditions that they kind of want to help with that as well.
It's a good question. Wow. Heavy. Okay. Well, the first thing I would say is in terms of like take home, movement is medicine. There's a reason why people say that. I think it's very important that don't, like, for example, we're sitting here, however long we're sitting for, ideally we should have gotten up and moved, you know?
Feeling stiff.
You're already feeling stiff. I'll sort you out, don't worry. Yeah, I think moving regularly is what people need to really focus on. They think that having poor posture leads to pain, but there isn't any evidence that actually backs that point up. It's actually prolonged sitting, like for a long period of time. That's what causes more pain. Now, when you're sitting in a position for a long time, if I'm stuck like this on a laptop working away, what's going to happen is naturally your shoulders are going to drop forward. So people think, oh, I've got poor posture. It's not really that. It's very much a case of your chest muscles are really tight. So it's just pulling you more forward. And if you don't have the strength in your back, you know, certain muscles in your back to keep your back up straight, you're naturally just going to drop forward. So then now you're going to be getting, a lot of like strains in your back, aches, stiffness. But if you're moving around more, it prevents that from happening. So the take-home thing I would say to people is moving around more regularly when you're sitting down for a long period of time. That's really important. And with regards to CBD, I mean, it doesn't just help with musculoskeletal conditions. For myself personally, I take it for just levels of stress and, you know, how anxious sometimes I can feel. I think we're living in London. We're at 1,000 miles per hour all the time. And when you wake up in the morning, I think Joe can touch on this as well when it comes to ADHD, you are like trying to catch all these things in your brain that you're like, okay, well, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. And I think using CBD, I mean, the one that you put underneath your tongue, especially, it just slows it down. And I feel like I can actually catch all these things in my head that I can actually get on with and do in the day. I feel like I spend most of my time being busy doing nothing sometimes because I feel so stressed and anxious about things. But the use of the CBD just helps, gives me that more control that that a lot of people sometimes feel like they don't have. So that's what I would say. So use CBD if you do feel quite anxious, stressed. I'm not too sure in terms of with depression because that's not something I suffer with, but with myself in terms of being anxious and jittery all the time, that just helps slow things down for me and make me feel like I am the captain of my own ship. That's what I would say. So I would definitely recommend CBD to people who have, gone through the same thing as me. It just helps you organize your life a bit better. And the other question was, you said you're feeling stiff and you wanted to know what I would do for you to feel stiff.
Yeah, I guess for a lot of people, because as you were talking then, I'm just thinking lockdown, for example, so many people were at home.
Yeah.
The amount of people that weren't able to get that medicine from movement. So much just sitting down all day. So many people with like office jobs or a job where they're in front of their laptop constantly, hunched over. So I mean, there's probably a lot of our community who are experiencing what you're describing. So yeah, I think a demonstration would be helpful if you could give them a taste of what that looks like.
So what I will do then is, I think the easiest and quickest demonstration I can give to you guys is probably doing a little neck manipulation or ASMR for yourselves, if you guys are happy with that. We've done a case history on you guys before, because I've done it before on you, so it's all okay and all safe. Look at you guys getting ready. All right, well, you guys stay there then. I'm gonna, it's all okay for me to just jump up and do what I need to do? Okay, well, who wants to go first? That David's there like, pick me. Okay.
Do you want me just relaxed?
Yeah, just stay nice and relaxed for me. Let's have a feel of your neck anyway. We'll do it while you're, with you sitting. I don't want this thing to get in the way. Please keep your head nice and relaxed for me.
Oh.
That point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that is probably the easiest and quickest thing that I can do. There's a few other bits that we can do. We can do kind of like an upper trap release as well, you know, bringing their head to the side and then bringing it down and then twisting. Lovely. So there's a few little bits that we can do. I think the quickest thing that we can do is definitely...
Incredible.
A manipulation. Joe, you ready?
I mean...
It's like, no.
You need to talk about that endorphin release.
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel that like immediately.
Boy, you're stressed, aren't you?
Wow.
You're stressed. Okay, right. You're going to keep your head looking straight for me?
Okay. Looking
Keep your head
straight.
nice and relaxed. Just relaxing your head into my hands. Just breathe, Joe. Good, I'm breathing out.
Wow.
There we go.
Wow, that's
I think that's
impressive.
probably the easiest thing that you can get on camera. I mean, when you're having treatment or you're having a session with an osteo, it's not a 10-minute session of a quick alignment and that's it. But when it comes to, the things on social media people like to see, that is the type of stuff that people like to see.
Wow.
That's
It's going to help
incredible.
my migraine, actually. So. Thank you very much for that.
No
Thank you,
worries,
Salma.
no
Well,
worries.
listen, Salma, it's been great having you. It's always great spending time with you because your energy is absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
It's great having you as part of the community. And for those who would like to get to know more about you, where best can they find you?
On their Instagram page, because I'm apparently a model now for them. That's number one. Best to find me is just on social media. So you'll find me on LinkedIn, you'll find me on Instagram. My number's there on WhatsApp as well. Feel free to just book in a discovery call with me to see if I can help.
What's your Instagram handle?
Salma Wolf.
Salma Wolf.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Salma, it's been great. Thank you so much again. And we hope to have you back on here soon to share with other members of the community other ways in which they can help themselves and help others when it comes to musculoskeletal health. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Salma. Cheers.